Hi, my name is Elena,
I'm Sam.
and today we'll be talking about sunscreen and we'll be going into depth about the effects of long term sun exposure, how sun exposure affects different people, how sunscreen works, and why wearing sunscreen is important. Effects of UV rays and sunscreen on skin. Let's talk about how long term sun exposure can affect the body. Skin cancer and melanoma. While melanoma isn't the most common type of skin cancer, it is the most dangerous. It results after years of unrepaired cell damage that eventually lead to mutations causing tumors to grow within the skin. Let's look at how this relates to chemistry. UV rays from the sun cause our skin cells, specifically melanocytes, which are mature melanin cells, to create cyclobutane pyrimidine dimers, or CPDs. You may be wondering, what even is that? This is when part of our DNA in our skin come together with 4 carbon rings, which then cause mutations that lead to melanoma or other skin cancers. In pigmented skin, CPDs are formed instantly, even after hours of UV exposure ends. According to the science journal Chemical Excitation of Electrons, A Dark Path to Melanoma by Sanjay Premi and Douglas E. Brash, UV activates the enzymes nitric oxide synthase, or NOS, and NADPH oxidase, or NOx, which generate the radicals nitric oxide, or NO, and superoxide, or O2 negative. These combine to form the powerful oxidant peroxynitrate, or NOO negative. Melanin is then oxidized, causing the electrons to excite to unusual levels. Chemiexcitation, or the process of exciting electrons, is used by fireflies to produce light. However, it is a process that doesn't normally occur in mammals.
Skin aging. Long-term sun exposure can potentially speed up the aging of your skin in a process known as photoaging. UV light changes the chemical composition of both the epidermis and dermis, which are the two main layers of one's skin. UVA light causes damage to both the epidermis and dermis, while UVB light only causes damage to the epidermis, or outer layer of your skin. The dermal layer of skin is comprised of bundles of collagen and elastin fibers, both of which are kinds of protein. Collagen is defined as a protein comprised of 3 polypeptide chains, and each of these chains has the amino acid sequence of glycine-X-Y. X and Y can be any other amino acid residue. Sustained exposure to sunlight can fragment and denature these proteins. It has also been shown that UV rays increase the transcription of several collagen-degrading enzymes, which causes further damage to the structure of the skin. Sunburn and tanning. Long-term exposure to UV light from the sun can also lead to tanning and later burning. The amount of time it takes someone to tan and then burn are each different levels, and each individual is affected by the same amount of sun exposure differently. Tanning occurs when the epidermis, or outer layer of skin, is exposed to UV light. Melanocytes, cells that produce melanin, are then triggered to release melanin in an effort to protect the proteins that make up your skin by absorbing UV light. Melanin is a pigmented molecule that gives color to the skin, hair, and eyes. Different individuals have different levels of melanin in the skin, and therefore varying levels of natural sun protection. The biochemical process of tanning is also known as melanogenesis. However, the tanning process can only occur so fast, and burning can occur when someone exceeds the amount of time they can safely spend under UV light. How does sun exposure affect different kinds of people? Seasons. Depending on the season, UV light exposure is greater or less. For example, in winter the days are shorter, so the sun is up for a shorter amount of time. Therefore, the UV levels are lower in winter than they are in summer. Geographic location. Depending on one's geographic location, the UV index can change as a result. There tend to be higher UV levels the closer to the equator one is, and lower UV levels in the extreme norths and souths of the globe. The higher the UV levels, the greater the chances individuals have of experiencing the negative effects of sustained sun exposure.
People with lighter skin complexion. I'm sure most of you have noticed that some people get sunburned while other people tan. The truth is the sun affects people differently. People with lighter skin complexion usually have a higher chance of getting sunburned and developing skin cancer. Experts say that people with lighter skin should try their best to limit their sun exposure with sunscreen by covering sensitive areas with clothing and not get too much sun exposure during peak hours of the sun. People with medium skin complexion are usually less likely to get sunburned and instead tan better. However, sun damage is still very possible. People with a darker skin complexion are less likely to develop skin cancer, get sunburn, and develop wrinkles due to the fact that they have higher levels of melanin. However, that doesn't mean that they cannot get sunburned at all. Also, if someone with a darker skin complexion does develop skin cancer, it is often a later stage in more unconventional places, such as their palms, soles of their feet, or underneath their nails. This is something not usually seen in lighter skinned individuals. Athletes versus the average person. Athletes are more susceptible to being affected by the sun. Most athletes spend their time outdoors training or competing, meaning they are exposed to the sun's rays for longer than the average person. According to Dr. Poonam Sakdev, it is advised to get 5 to 15 minutes of sunlight, or up to 30 minutes for darker skinned individuals, to get the most out of the sun without it causing any health problems. Now we're going to dive into how sunscreen works. Here's what it do. Sunscreen helps prevent most, if not all, of these conditions depending on the SPF rating and what it is made out of. As we previously had discussed in our sunscreen lab, there are two different kinds of sunscreen. Some have inorganic compounds or minerals and others don't. Sunscreens containing inorganic or mineral compounds such as titanium dioxide and zinc oxide provide a physical barrier against UV rays as they work by reflecting the sunlight. Chemical sunscreens containing organic compounds work by absorbing UV rays, converting the energy from the sun into heat, and then later releasing it. Here is what sunscreen doesn't do. Sunscreen isn't a cure to all of these conditions. However, it does help prevent them.
What is sunscreen made out of? Some common active ingredients in sunscreen used by American manufacturers include avobenzone, homosalate, octinoxate, octisalate, octocrylene, oxybenzone, titanium dioxide, and zinc oxide. Sunscreens can be made of both organic and inorganic compounds. In conclusion, sunscreen is important for a few key reasons. Using sunscreen reduces the likelihood of developing melanoma or skin cancer. Sunscreen use can also prevent signs of premature photoaging. Lastly, sunscreen decreases the risk of getting sunburned. Thanks to all the Chem 306 students who made it this far in the video. We hope it was as fun for you all to watch as it was for us to research, write, film, edit, and produce. As a side note, 2 chemistry students didn't take their own advice and as a result were sunburned from the making of this video. Like and subscribe for more.